Parenting and narcissism. They are two words that should not be in any given sentence. But we often find ourselves pulling our hair out because we have to parent with a narcissist. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about how to parent with a narcissist and how you can learn how to effectively parent if your ex-partner is a narcissist. A massive welcome to Trauma and Narcissism Redefined, your weekly dose of hopefully inspiration, education, and the fact that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, whether you're experiencing narcissism, trauma, whatever that may be. Hopefully my stories, the educational piece in this will give you an insight in how you can help make your life better, because you deserve to have a life where you thrive and flourish. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about something that I have experienced and something that I found really, really challenging, and how I can actually help you improve parenting when your ex-partner is a narcissist. Now, I'm hosting a free masterclass on Saturday, the 1st of June, which is actually World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. So it's coming up this Saturday. And I'm hosting a free masterclass titled How to Parent with a Narcissist. And on that, I will be taking you through some really key techniques and strategies of setting up how you can parent more effectively, protecting your emotions and protecting your children's. I'll also be teaching you some somatic techniques. So somatic means in the body. So when we're working on our emotions, very often we just keep talking about it, and actually we need to work at the nervous system level. So I'll be teaching you some somatic techniques to use on yourself to downregulate your emotions, and the same for your children. I'll also be sharing and talking about trauma responses and how our survival and trauma responses may look like your children are better behaved with the narcissist. This one, when I knew this, was a clincher. It made so much sense. And I'm going to explain this in more detail to you on this masterclass. Now, I'm going to pop the link in the show notes for you. So just underneath, go and register. Even if you can't join me live at 6 UK time, 1 o'clock Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific, do register still, because I'll send you the recording. Because if you're a parent and your ex is a narcissist, you need to listen to this masterclass. It's literally, I'll be sharing all of the mistakes I made, because I made some too, but equally I'm going to be sharing with you what worked. And I have a 16 and a 19-year-old now. And I have to say, and bear in mind, when I split up from my ex, my children were 3 and 6 years old. So it was tough, but they are the most kindest, compassionate, self-confident young adults. They know that they are good enough for who they are. They know that nobody else's behaviour, let alone their father's, is ever a reflection of them. Now, I didn't know this stuff till I was in my 40s, so I don't know about you. I look at my children with awe, and there is a sense of pride in the fact that actually, had I not split up from my ex-husband, I'd have ended up still being this codependent, myself having this lack of self-worth. Probably my children would have been suffering with anxiety. And now I look at them and I think the biggest gift I gave them was healing myself. I think sometimes when we're trying to parent effectively, we're purely focusing on our children. We're making sure they eat right. We're making sure they are feeling loved, and we're saying all of the right things. But children act more on what you do and how you feel, because they'll feel that energy off you, than actually what you say. And this isn't to shame any of you parents right now thinking, oh my goodness, I could do this, and I cry or I shout or anything. Hey, I have been there. This isn't about shaming you at all, because however you have been, I probably have been the same too. But this is the catalyst for you to really start to look at how can you feel better about the rest of your life, because when you do that, you will parent more effectively. If you work, you will work more effectively. Relationships will be more thriving and flourishing, because it has to start with you. So often as codependents, when we end up in these relationships with narcissists, because we have a lack of self-love, we're these perpetual people pleasers. So of course a narcissist is going to want to take. And people pleasers, what are we going to do? We're going to give, give, give. So it's a magnet and a match made in heaven with a narcissist. But if all we're doing is seeking external approval and worth all of the time, we'll burn out and we wonder why we start to suffer with chronic illness. You know, I used to suffer with a heart condition, which I know was likely stress related, and some medication I had from antidepressants years ago when I was pregnant. And then also I had something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which I think is a silent epidemic, but you don't know you've got it unless you actually get tested. And I had a full body check about 4 years ago and I was diagnosed with that. And again, I'm convinced that came from a lot of stress related to my divorce that I went through with my ex-husband. Now, having worked on myself, up my lifestyle, it's far more healthy, but equally doing that inner work, working at a deep nervous system level, because you can't think your way out of this. You have to feel. You have to have corrective experiences from the past where you've interpreted certain events. You have to really work at that deep somatic level, the nervous system level. You know, traditionally we, always think go and see a counselor or a psychologist and talk. And whilst that can be really validating in the moment, we know from research now, we need to bring in somatic work as well to really start to heal at the nervous system level. Otherwise, we're only treating symptoms all of the time. So to shift those nervous system states, the perpetual nervous system states, we have to work in the body at the nervous system level. So that's where I do things with my clients, for instance, like somatic experiencing, EMDR, brain spotting, breath work. We're really working at a visceral level, because when we're experiencing trauma, or you think about it, whenever you see the narcissist, what do? If we're not going through a healing process, the likelihood is our body will brace and we start to pump out cortisol. So our adrenal glands, which sit on top of our kidneys, will start to pump out cortisol. Now, if we keep on pumping out cortisol, even if we're not in actual danger, in the long run, this leads to inflammation. And inflammation in the body can then be diagnosed with certain conditions like autoimmune disorders, irritable bowel syndrome, eczema, psoriasis. There's so many things that can happen in our body that we then go and get maybe medication for because we have these symptoms. But what we're not doing so much in society, it's getting better, is looking at the root cause. Why is my body inflamed? What's happened in my past? And we really need to start looking at people's trauma history, not just with the narcissistic abuse. And this was a revelation to me. When I came out of my relationship and realized that I had been in a relationship with a narcissist, it opened up a whole catalyst of other stuff that I didn't even realize. And I feel incredibly grateful for that, insofar as, didn't at the time, but insofar as it allowed me to actually look in the mirror and take some ownership and responsibility of my own healing, because I was always looking for that knight in shining armor to come and rescue me. I hadn't learned as a child to internalize my own sense of power and worth. I had learned that I needed to look externally for my own sense of power and worth. And of course, when you do that, you're putting it in the hands of people who often aren't capable of holding that for you. So I realized that if I wanted to be a better parent to my children, it had to start with me. Think about the oxygen mask. If those oxygen masks drop down, what do? We have to put it on ourselves first, because if we don't, we start to feel really sleepy and everything else, and we can't help anyone else either. So you have to think about this. I know as parents, we're like, yes, my kids are a priority. Absolutely, they are a priority, but you should be the priority, because you can then be the best parent that you can possibly be. And I get it, sometimes it might feel selfish, but you have to look after yourself first, because otherwise, and something my sister said really hit home then. I was so driven to be the best parent to my children, because again, I was externalizing my worth being a parent. I felt the only good thing I was good at was being a parent. And I was being a good parent to a certain extent, but I was doing it to the detriment of everything else. And my children were witnessing this. And I remember my sister saying to me, what's it going to take for you to stop and actually look after yourself? A slab in the morgue? And when someone says something to you and you're like, ooh, okay. Because I was burning out. I was literally tense all of the time. I was in this functional freeze response with this high sympathetic charge. I'd have explosive moments of anger. I'd have moments where I was just crying all the time and I didn't want to get out of bed. I did because I had to, because of my kids. But ultimately, what it was that I realized that all healing is self-healing. If I wanted to be the most effective parent that I possibly could, I needed to look within. I needed to start to heal myself, to really understand why I was reacting the way that I was. Not how dare he behave the way he was. I needed to look at, why am I behaving like this when he's behaving like that? I have no power over what he does. The only power I have is over what I feel. And that set me off on a journey of discovery, not only of narcissistic abuse, but really recognizing that my childhood had played a really big part in me realizing that I didn't feel good enough. My mum was highly codependent, so her sense of worth was being a good parent, and the cycle was starting to continue with that. But my father was exceptionally unemotional, where there wasn't much praise, there wasn't much I love yous, and there was kind of remarks that would be said to me, more so to me than my two sisters. I'm the youngest of three. And what I realized when I started to do my inner work that my interpretation of my father's behavior in particular was that I wasn't good enough or worthy, that I wasn't important enough. I was the youngest. I didn't matter. I felt like a joke in my family very often because I felt like people didn't take me seriously. And actually, I've had great conversations with my sister about this, both of my sisters, and, they can see the dynamics. My two sisters would never have ended up in a relationship with a narcissist, yet we had the same parents, but we had different experiences, different interpretations of our parents' behavior. The dynamic, I was the youngest, they were the middle and the eldest, they were closer together. I was at home on my own much more with my parents when they went off to university. So I witnessed a lot of silent treatment, for instance. And whilst we kind of know that might happen in a household where parents are arguing or they don't speak to each other, when there's only 3 of you in a household and your mum's sense of worth comes from you being a great mum, I felt a real sense of responsibility to support my mum, and then also wanting to prove myself to my father. I didn't know any of this. It was just kind of my childhood, and I didn't think I had a bad childhood, and I still don't. But there was definitely behaviors and interpretations that shaped me as the woman that I became when I became an adult. And I look back at the kind of when I was girlfriends to people and I think, damn, I was a really nice girlfriend. I never cheated. I was so attentive because I needed them to know how special they were, because then they might think I was special. And that's how I was driven. And it was only really my ex-husband that really made me open my eyes and see that. So of course, it was really low moments. And of course, the parenting element was, I thought my only worth was being a parent. And I love being a parent. I love being a mum to my 2 children. It really is the best job that I do have. And I love it. I'm very maternal and I adore being their parent. And, I would drop everything for them. Like literally, if they needed me. And I always say, obviously you see I work hard, but if they need me, I'm there. I'm absolutely there. But the bizarre thing is, even though I've built up a very successful business now, helping people just like yourself, and I teach, I have the world's only narcissistic trauma-informed coaching certification. I teach the only somatic trauma-informed coaching and leadership qualification. It's a level 7. I've created all of this now. Yeah, even as I sit here right now, I would drop my daughter off to school. I would work here at my offices and I'd go and pick her up. We'd have dinner together and then she'd be off upstairs chatting to her friends or revising. And I would then maybe do some other work too. And they see that they matter, but they also see me, that I matter. And that's so important. So on this masterclass that I'm hosting on World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day on the 1st of June, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this, but more strategy-based things. You kind of heard a little bit about my own background and my own story, and boy, did I struggle to parent with my ex. Everything I said was met with challenge. It was met with pushback. And remember, my sense of worth was being a parent. So you can imagine how activating that was to be told something, but actually they lived far away and they weren't doing anything themselves. If you don't like me as a parent, why aren't you stepping in then? So again, you could see the dynamic. And of course I can see it now looking back, but when you're in it, it's a different story. And it's hard to navigate that parenting dynamic when your ex just wants to win, when they just want to push back and say all of these things that they know they're going to push their buttons with you too. So do come and join me in my free masterclass where I'll be teaching you how to parent effectively with a narcissist and to navigate your own emotions and your children's. I know by the end of it, you will come away with something. And if you can join me live, I'll also stay for any Q&As that you might want to ask too live. Everybody is welcome. Please come along, but you do need to register with the link in the show notes. And again, even if you can't join me live, do still register because I will send you the recording too. I can't wait to see you live on Saturday at 6 o'clock UK time, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, 10 a.m. Pacific time, where I will be sharing with you the key strategies needed. How do you set up all of this to protect you and your children? And that is absolutely vital. So take care. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know, can you relate to any of this? Can you relate to your only sense of worth comes from being a parent? Can you relate to feeling like you feel like you're doing all of the right things, but you feel like you want to cry or get angry? Hey, I've been there. Drop me a message on Instagram. Make sure you come over and follow me on Instagram. Come and join my free community on Facebook. Everything will be in the show notes for you to come along. Come and be part of my community. Don't be alone on this journey. You know, that was the thing. I felt really lonely and that made me feel with shame because I thought no one else was going through it. There are hundreds of thousands, millions going through all of this. Come and join a safe community. You know, when people come and join our Facebook community, I have a team that checks every single profile. You can join lots of other Facebook communities about narcissistic abuse, but let me tell you, I think ours is the safest on Facebook because we check everybody, like literally everybody. And it's very rare we have to remove anybody either because we've already done our due diligence. Most other groups, they just let everybody in. I've got about 44,000 people in our group. I could have 250,000 in there, like literally, if I let everybody in. But we want to keep it a safe space and a community for you to feel seen, heard, validated, no judgment, just support. So come along and join my free community too, all in the show notes for you. So take care, my friends. I really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Remember, you can listen to this on all of your iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to a podcast, but you can also come and watch me over on YouTube too. And if you do come and watch me on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell to make sure you get all of my videos that come out, and go and binge watch and listen to other things too, because there's lots of gold there that I wish I had when I was healing from narcissistic abuse too. Make sure you register for my free masterclass on World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. Take care, look after yourself, not just everybody else, yourself, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care, my friends.